To me, I think that's more like level 3 and 4 of like getting out ads. And I don't even love ads in general because I've seen so many client of ours who come in and doing ads and just dumping money into ads. But if you don't know, if you don't have somebody that's truly taking advantage of that, or you're not seeing those numbers, like that could be a bottomless pit of, hey, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, and you're not really seeing many leads and traction on that. So ads is the very last thing I will go to. Now, SEO is super important, but I think there's even different levels of SEO, quote unquote, because you could hire a company and it's stupid expensive. Like you're probably looking at 1,000, $2,000 a month for like full level SEO companies. But I think there are smaller things you can do that improve your SEO. Items like, hey, one, something as simple as making sure your Google My Business profile is fully filled out. Once again, I know we always talk about this in this aspect of how it's difficult for y'all to get reviews. By having reviews increases your SEO. I think having something like an ebook and then also having on your webpage blogs. So having blogs about what you do. So I can't remember, Deb, for you specifically, do you have blogs on your website?
Yes.
Okay, okay. See, I thought so because I know we talked about even the ebook you created, like taking some of those and turning those into blogs. Because blogs help out because as people are searching those different topics, they'll land on your blog. Like, perfect example, like what is psychosis? Well, hey, we want Deb to be on the front page of that when somebody's typing that in. So having that blog on her website improves that SEO. So that's why I say there's different levels to SEO. So don't worry about the you know, full big scale of it, but I would just say at least kind of doing those smaller things. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, I'm gonna out myself as being totally ignorant. So back in the old days, you had to like when you blogged, you went to like a blog website, like Blogspot or something. Is so we don't do that anymore, right? Like what is it?
Uh,
What do you mean blog? Help me out.
yeah, so think of a blog, and I'll throw this over to Kenya. I'll give my 2 cents on it. To me, a blog is honestly just an article talking about a topic,
Okay.
and it's on your website. So,
And it
for
goes on the
example,
website, but they could when they search on Google, it'll direct them. Oh, okay, got it. Got it.
it could potentially direct them. So, perfect example, because Deb's is super easy because she's super specific in psychosis. So it's like if somebody is searching on Google, what are the best ways to work through psychosis? Well, she has that blog titled that on her webpage. It is going to find her webpage, and then as more people find that, or search for that, it'll land. So that actually helps your SEO in that manner. So different things like that. So it's really just having on your web page different articles or different topics that you're talking about. Does that make sense? Okay. But yeah, go ahead. You give your 2 cents on that, Kenya, if you had something different on blogs on the best way to do that.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say because most common for me were Blogspot and WordPress. And yes, those are external, but now most of them have an integration either in your website or something that's already built out. So first look for it in your website. And then if it's not there, there's more than likely an integration. And if you need more help, then just let me know. But something I also want to add is Anika, when we were talking last week, you mentioned that a lot of people actually find you through, your website and then the way you use your keywords. So that's also why keywords are important. So, and because it ties right in with SEO, it's how people find you. So she was using her specialty specifically. So, different methods she uses, how the things she uses to treat people. So all of these things actually tie back to one, your brand awareness. So even including it, it doesn't have to be in the blog. I would include it in the blog, but in your blog, on your website, even the captions on your social media posts can all tie in, which is why they all need to be cohesive. So yeah, think about, I mean, it's another big branch to think about, but it helps you in the end if you do all the work up front. Yes, Ms. Portia.
Sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm eating lunch too. So my website's through Wix. Wix used to have a feature where you could do a blog and it would automatically integrate. But what I have noticed, not just with Wix, but with many other platforms, is that where you would get these bundles of services. Now they are deconstructing those services and creating different tiers where you then have to continually pay for another tier to get the service you want. So, like with email marketing, I found in MailerLite, they have an option for you to do a newsletter or a blog. But back to that integration piece, I do not want to be an IT person. I want to talk to people about getting their shit together. I don't have the spoons to learn how to do that. But I also have anxiety about how much of this is in my head and how much of this do I really need to pay somebody to do.
That's a good point. I have two things. Let's see, the second part, Alan could probably answer better. So I'll speak to the first part, which was, you don't really want to be an IT person. You want to speak to people, right? You want to have these conversations. And I know we were talking last week about prioritizing different avenues of marketing. So let's say you may want a blog, right? That may be good in theory, but you don't have the time to put forward into creating that blog. Since you know one of your strong suits is just speaking to people and having conversations, turn that into a video. Post it on your socials, post it on your website, And I know you have a video, I believe, on your website, and you have some on your socials as well. But just because blogs are an option doesn't mean that's the option you have to choose. Because essentially a blog or an article is just a written copy or a transcript of something you'd be saying in a video or audio. So if that does not work for you, if you feel like that's going to create more work for you in the end, go with what you're strongest at, which is speaking to people. Now that's the only other thing is you still have to carve out time for something. But if you want to post, a 3-minute video as opposed to reading a blog that may take you 3 hours to complete, I would definitely go with video.
I would say this on that one. I think now in this day and age, in this new chat GPT era, I think blogs are probably the lowest hanging fruit, but they're still super valuable. Like I mentioned to the SEO aspect of when people are searching for things. Because like I mentioned, and I know I always pick on you, Deb, but it's because you're so specific in dealing with psychosis. It's like I want anybody searching for any questions about psychosis and mental health to land on conversations therapy. You know what I mean? And one of the best ways to do that is, and that's the beauty of being specific and having a niche. It gets a little more difficult when you're a little more broad. But you could still, no matter what your niche is or isn't, you can still do that. But I'm telling you, like, guys, y'all can make blogs in 5 minutes with Chat GPT and have something meaningful. Like, have it get you 80% of the way there, and then you just kind of go back over it and use your knowledge, your expertise to, change it up, to put it in, in your actual voice, to put in, good solid information. Because I mean, honestly, I don't see any reason why like creating a blog would take more than 30 minutes. You give it a good prompt, give it a good title. So perfect example. So let's do this portion. We're gonna do a scenario here. What would be something that you would think you would create a blog on?
Psychological safety in the workplace.
Perfect. So I'm gonna try that. Psychological safety in the workplace. And then as Kenya's going to our next point, I'm gonna do some work on this one, and then I want to show you what it comes up, and then we're gonna take that, run with it, and then you kind of come back in and edit it and change it. Like I say, add a few different things to it. Boom. As far as the website piece of it, you said your website's through Wix, right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it should be relatively easy to, if you have somebody who does it, or no, I think you did your own website, right?
I did it. I do it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easy as adding a page,
Mhm.
having a blog drop down, adding a page, psychological safety in the workplace, boom. copy and paste it in there. So I'm gonna work on this while King goes to our next point, or actually while we go to Deb. Deb, what was your question?
No, I was just going to say, you can even tell, Portia, I know you and I both use Perplexity, but you can tell it to use certain SEO words while it's writing your blog.
Oh,
You can be really specific in your prompt and just say, be sure to include these words.
okay.
That's awesome.
Got a
But
question.
yeah, we'll double back to this in a second. But go ahead, Kenya.
Okay, short little exercise for you. So thinking about your clients, right? So if they are looking for something, let's say not therapy related, we can do like ice cream, right? Let's say the best ice cream shop in Houston, for example. So if they type that in, where do you think they would type that into? Would it be Google? Would it be TikTok? Would it be Instagram? And I actually want y'all to respond to this because I'm not sure of the answer. Where would it be first? Meaning, where would they look? Which search engine would they use? That's the first question there.
Okay.
Google. YouTube, TikTok. Okay, perfect. So since it is Google, y'all might create more work for yourself. But since it is Google, what that basically means is your stuff's got to be searchable on Google. So we already talked about the Google My Business page, right? We're talking about blogs now. Let's say you created your TikTok page or your Instagram page and you optimize that so that people can find you there. Now, if we're still talking about ice cream and you're like, okay, I have the best ice cream. I don't have the best ice cream. How do people know that you have the best ice cream? You know, are you showing up every day? Are you showing up weekly? Are you showing what you do behind the scenes for people? So it makes all of it kind of works together. It sounds like a lot of work in theory, but let's say if we're talking about a blog versus like a TikTok video, essentially it's the same information. One's just put into verbal form, verbal versus transcript. So don't make it harder on yourself. As long as the topic is the same, you should be in good standing. The hardest part might be what Portia just mentioned about the integrations and getting it on your actual website. But as long as it's tailored to the same content, it makes sense. So always think about your audience when you're actually creating these things, because let's say it was TikTok as opposed to Google, it's still nice to have those blogs because they'll show up. But if they're going straight to TikTok and asking, okay, where can I find the best ice cream shop? You still want yours to pop up, but that's when a different method comes in. So it's still SEO. You're still using those keywords, but instead of, writing everything out, you're saying those keywords. Not to confuse you, but pretty much the same method. That's kind of what I have on this stage too. Okay.
Here, I'll jump in and show you just what we came up with. Let me see. So just to show you this portion, so this is what I say, like in this day and age, I think blogs are pretty easy. Let me see. Can I share? Can we switch out your screen really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you. Okay, so I hope y'all can see this. So Portia, we were talking about psychological safety. So cultivating psychological safety in the workplace. So it kind of gives this, what is psychological safety? It's the belief that you will not be punished, humiliated, or ridiculed for speaking up with ideas, questions, or concerns or mistakes. Kind of goes into why is it important? Kind of the hallmarks of a psychologically safe workplace here: open communication, supportive leadership, inclusive culture, how to foster it in your organization, and how to measure it, and the role of mental health professionals in it, and then a conclusion. So it's more than just the HR buzzwords, foundational element. So you see what I'm saying? Like just in this quick glance, you see how much this gives you for that. And so then what I would do if I were you, take this, kind of rewrite it, use your actual, knowledge to kind of fill in the gaps or take out pieces that might be inaccurate on it. And then there's your post. But from what you've seen so far, does this kind of hit some of the marks of the things you would have discussed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say do. And I can send you this exact one if you'd like, for you to kind of tinker with it and edit it.
Sure.
But do you see what I mean on how, like, hey, this gives you a good chunk of the work. Now you use all that knowledge that you have, go back, revamp it, make it sound like you hit on this important aspects. And then now when you get this on your website, when people are talking about, how do I foster psychological safety in my workplace? Boom, this might be one of the things that come up. What is a psychologically safe workplace? Why is it important? You see what I'm saying? Because it hits on those key items. And so then as people are searching, they land on that and then land on you. Make sense?
It makes sense.
But
No, I mean, it
oh,
makes,
okay.
it's the SEO, the integration part,
Uh-huh.
right? Because you're telling me that simply by putting that on my website, it's gonna drive traffic toward me. Is it really that simple? There are things I don't have to breadcrumb them toward this by integrating it with SEO stuff. Like I think Deb said feed it, tell it you want SEO buzzwords. But
So there are a couple ways on this. I'm actually going through right now a like a YouTube course. And so this is actually it is actually very relatable to just how algorithms now work, how Google works, that whole deal. Because I'm actually learning a good deal in the process. And heck, that might be something we'll talk about here because I think a lot of you should have a YouTube channel. But here's the thing: is you have two ways that people find you. Either they search and find you, or on YouTube specifically, you can be like a browser, it's like somebody's browsing and then you kind of land in front of them. As y'all know, if you go on YouTube, watch a video, then all of a sudden you have these suggested videos and whatnot. SEO and SEO kind of works the same way with Google, because the thing is with this one, if somebody is specifically typing in, hey, I want to know how to be psychologically safe in my workplace. Well, Google searches, it finds those words, as we were talking about the different keywords, finds that exact thing from your website, like, oh, wait, this is what they're talking about. So it lands on that. So to answer your question, yes, it can be that simple. Now, does it mean all of a sudden, as soon as you post this blog, are you getting, 15 different people trying to book? Well, no, not exactly. But as people are searching that thing, Google will find it. And yeah, you should optimize it in a few different ways, but Google will find that. And then they will send them that. And the best way to test it is once we have that blog up, hey, do a search yourself and see if you come up, use the incognito browser, do a search yourself to see if that comes up. You see what I'm saying? So to a degree, yes, it's that easy. Does it mean the floodgates are going to open just because you posted a blog? No, but it will help if people are searching for that thing.
That, Janet, is why SEO is important, because it shouldn't take 5 videos just for that. But that's why you have to make it more targeted, which is what SEO does. Also, think of SEO kind of like a funnel. If you're walking through a grocery store, or no, actually, let's say you're walking through Marshall's and you're going to pick up a journal and you're like, okay, I really want to get a new journal. I want to start this, for the month of March. And I really want to be consistent with writing in my journal. Now, more likely than not, you probably have a pen at home, right? So you're like, okay, I'm not going to pick up this pen. But as you're walking to the checkout, you see this whole row of pens, and there are several pens that you like, several pens that match the journal, several pens that you're like, okay, I could pick these up, but I don't need them. You're going to be more encouraged to spend something on a journal because it's right there and it goes hand in hand with what you just got. Both of them are new. Then it'll give you, I don't know, it might be a placebo effect, but it might give you more of some kind of energy that makes you want to write in that journal. It's kind of the same thing with SEO. So it's like online, you might be looking at a whole script for or excuse me, different places for ice cream. You find these different places and you're like, okay, well, why would I go to Baskin Robbins? And then you're like, you know what? I really have been craving some rainbow sherbet, for example. And then they send you somewhere else and they're like, okay, did you know we have this limited edition rainbow sherbet that has like sprinkles on top, you know? And it kind of just keeps going. But essentially it's to connect all of your information in different spaces. And yes, there is a lot of work on the back end that you would have to put in, but once you put in that work, it pretty much works for you. So just think of it that way. Yes, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's definitely not. But if you put in the work on the back end, then it'll definitely work for you on the front. So that way, you know, they're pulling up your blogs, they're pulling up your Instagram, they're pulling up your website. And hopefully that will lead to more clients. It's not going to be overnight. I'm going to tell you that. It will, I mean, very rarely.
What if the issue is that you don't need more clients? You need more money. And what I mean by that is I'm a solo, right? So I'm full. I see 20, 25 people a week. I don't need more clients. I need them to come. I need to have a net to catch them in that rustles like cash.
Yeah, I
Do
would say
you need more offers in?
I need
Were you
merch offers.
passive
Yes.
income. That's what you need. And that's what I wrote down when you first started speaking, kind of before the actual call started, is turning your knowledge into repurposed content. You know, it's those ebooks. It's the when I listen to speakers a lot, like motivational speakers.
Mhm.
And when they say, you know, they might have some kind of events where they'll have a speaking engagement, but what they really make a lot of money on is those ebooks and or physical books and those courses, because they pretty much create it once and then they just continue to sell it. Now the selling part is a little more difficult, but that's the hard part I'm talking about, is creating these different products that you can resell, because you won't have to be working for that after you've already created it. You know, if you have a course or a webinar, it's already pre-recorded. People are just taking it and they've already paid the premium, whatever that price is. So yeah, yours would definitely be repurposing your content to make money or passive income, kind of what Ms. Deb said at the beginning too. Now, how we get there, we can talk about that in your session. But if y'all want to have a whole session on that,
we will talk about it.
see
Yeah.
what you need is more, you need more offers again, if that's the case. More offers lead to more streams of income naturally. So it's still the same process, because we want people to know about you. So as we were just talking about this blog. So hey, you write this blog, you know, somebody ends up searching for that. They end up on your website reading this blog, and then they're like, oh, wait, Portia has a course about this. Or, you know, or then they start browsing around your website, like, oh, you know, they see your video, your nice new fancy video you put up there. And then they start, oh, wait, she has a course about this now. Oh, wait, what does that look like? Or she has an ebook about this. So the process is still the same for you to be front and center and to get people to you. But then once they get to you, that's where we need the more offers that have that passive income stream. You see what I'm saying?
And am I thinking about this correctly, that I need to have those things built before I start telling people, come look, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't?
depends
I
on
don't think
What
so.
are they coming to look at?
yeah.
Can I say something to this?
Sure.
Because I feel like I did that. I feel like I created attention and made offers, but didn't really have it all built. And I felt crazy. Like it felt not great. So, Portia, I don't know. You and I are very similar in how our brains work. And so I think for me, if I could do it all over again, I would have it all loaded. I would have it
That's how I
all
feel.
kind of done, so that when I could finally start catching the attention, I would have at least a basket to put them in.
Mhm.
Because I didn't. And I feel like I look back on that and it was such a learning lesson, because I feel like I lost a lot of opportunity.
Mm.
That's just my 2 cents.
Can
Yeah,
I
and that's
want to
how I
bounce one thing off of that though. I kind of agree with you there. I see what you're saying, like, hey, have something for them to come to. But do you know the very first basket that you need is what we've talked about is having a lead magnet. Is at the very least, if you have a lead magnet on your website where, hey, once they read this blog, like maybe the ebook and the course, maybe that's steps, 4, 5, and 6. But if they're coming to your website, if we at least have the lead magnet where we're getting their email address, then once we have those other things lined up, we can go back and tell them in emails that we're in our newsletters that we're sending out, hey, we got this new thing. Hey, we got this new course on this. Hey, we got this new ebook on this. So I think that's where the back end comes. I would still say in the short term, at the very least, hey, have that lead magnet to where when they come to your website, you get their info and then you have it. You store all those future things. Does that make sense?
It makes
Because I
sense.
think that's the initial basket, at least.
And I think I'm looking at this from my own perspective, like as a consumer, where I get maybe 20, 30 emails a day from things I've signed up for, and I don't read that stuff. I mean, honestly, one or two out of the 20 or 30 might catch my eye. And so I understand that that's where the money is, and it's the ones that catch your attention. And I'm gonna have to rearrange my mindset, because in my mind it's like, oh, one more email. That's on me though.
Also with that, you kind of have to be unapologetic about it too, because if your audience really vibes with you, if your audience is really down for you, they're gonna read it. They may not read the whole thing, right? But they might read a little bit. They might see, oh, okay, this person sent me a message. Let's see what that says. And they might read, the first couple paragraphs. They might listen to or watch the first video. But even if they don't read or listen to the whole thing, at least they're still engaged. Now, let's say I was a potential client. I signed up for your newsletter, and you sent me a newsletter today, right? I read the newsletter. Great. I'm interested. I might follow you on Instagram just because that's where I like to keep up with people, right? But let's say a few months goes by. I don't see any newsletters from Miss Portia. I don't see any posts from Miss Portia. And I'm like, dang, what happened to her? She fell off the face of the earth. Like, what happened? I got to find her. So then they may go and find you if they're really interested. And then they see you haven't posted on Instagram. And it's like, okay, well, how do I get in touch? You have your website, but website's just a website. Usually the information doesn't change. So that's kind of the importance of it too, because I'd say with marketing, it's hit or miss, right? So you might get 50, so that's a lot. Let's just say 50 a month from a certain company, right? But at least that they're still, present. They're still trying to get your business. They're still keeping you engaged. And they might actually have something you want. But as opposed to that 50, if I'm only getting one every 3 months, and I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, I don't know about that. So it also adds to your credibility. But like I said, that's why you have to prioritize what you are best at, because if you're putting eggs into a blog basket, if you're putting eggs into your website basket, you're putting eggs into your Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, that's a lot. That is a lot. So that's why I say start with one, get really good at one, and then maybe move on to the next. But if we're talking about products specifically, I'd honestly say start with probably what feels most difficult for you, or that's going to take the longest. So for example, if you want to do a mini course or a webinar, that usually includes, some kind of visual aspect, and include some transcript as well. But if you create that whole webinar, you can literally take the videos, those snippets from it, you can take the transcripts from it and create those blogs. You can create those IG posts. You can create everything from that one thing. So yes, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. It does take time. But if you have the hardest part done out of it, you can take everything that you created from this one blueprint and repurpose it everywhere else. So, wow, this feels a lot more intense than it was supposed to be, but
Well, and I have one more thing to add on that, because think about this, to your exact example, Portia, of how many things you get from, and I like what Kimmy said, is that, it still keeps you present, still keeps you front of mind when, when you're sending stuff, even if you're sending a newsletter once a month. But they say on average, it takes a person like 7 touch points before they buy anything from you. So that's why I say I think it's still important to get that information from them, get their email from them, get in front of them so they're knowing. Because think about this on your end. what was you probably bought an online course or something before, right? How many times did it take from you to hear from that person before you bought that course? You see what I'm saying? Did the very first time they mentioned it or you saw an email or clicked on something, did you buy the course? No, you probably, a few different times they send an email, they send this, you go look them up here, looking up here. Maybe you find a YouTube video about them. And then at some point later down the road, when you get that email, probably 5 months after you initially signed up for it, like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and get this course. You see what I'm saying? So it normally takes all of us, and just think of it as a consumer. Like, how many times do you have to hear from somebody before you actually purchase from them? So that's why I say the sooner you get them in your inner circle, the better, because the buying process is long. People hold on to their money. You know what I mean? So it takes a long time to kind of nurture and to have multiple touch points with them. Does that make sense? See what I'm saying? Just can you take them?
Okay, this is probably going to be the last slide. I'm actually going to skip this one here. All right, so this is something I'd like to ask y'all, especially in marketing calls. If you haven't seen it yet, great, because we're going to hop right in. So what is your unique value proposition or value add? On the right-hand side, you can see a diagram basically explaining what that is, but essentially it's what sets you apart from other mental health professionals. And I always like to start here, if not target audience, because you will have to know this. It'll help you in creating your content. It'll help you in being in your sessions with clients. It'll help you in creating those ebooks or whatever it may be. Why would someone go to you as opposed to another mental health professional? And I actually know a lot. So like I could probably name one for each of y'all. So I know you can name one for yourself.
Pressure's on.
I even have one for me. I'll give you that.
You want us to put it in the chat, Kenya?
Yep, put it in the chat, or you can say it out loud, whichever you like. I'm curious to see these too. Y'all are lucky some of y'all have your cameras off because I'm looking at your faces trying to understand what's going on. Okay. I am going to call on someone because I don't see anything in the chat yet. So I'm gonna call on Brandon.
There we go, Brandon. Okay.
What's your UVA?
Oh, I had just dropped it, but I'll say
He did.
I'm a man. I'm a man providing therapy, a Black man at that, and I know that's like very super stupidly rare, and also increasingly more in demand. So just off of that by itself.
Yep, for sure. That's definitely one I would have for you too.
There we go, Deb.
I'm gonna add this to Brandon. I would say the language used in therapy too. So the way that you speak, I mean, obviously I haven't been like in a session with you, but the way that you speak to clients, just looking at your website, looking at your social media, is very unique as well. It's literally directly to your target audience. So, the way that, we speak in slang, for example, people are probably going to migrate to that as opposed to someone who just speaks standard, proper English because they understand it better. And that's probably something you've thought about. I feel like you've definitely said that in one of our sessions before, but it does help because it lets the audience know, like, hey, this person understands me, like this person sees who I am. I don't have to code switch. I'll say that. I don't have to code switch. So that's you can show up to therapy as simply who you are. Okay. There are virtually no therapists who are willing to work with clients with psychosis or anything that can help over 20 plus, or excuse me, I've got over 20 plus years. Yep, and yours is definitely a UVA as well.
Nailed it. Jen, I'm gonna pick on you. What's yours? What's your unique value proposition?
God. I don't know.
I know.
Oh,
Boundaries without guilt.
boundaries without guilt. Yes.
Ooh.
But I mean, I'm trying to figure out how I'm special. um,
You have a whole social media page dedicated to it.
I know. I think it's probably my straightforward language.
Mm-hmm.
Like I speak, I was, this actually came up. I was speaking to an attorney the other day about a case, and I was explaining, and I was just talking. He said, "You're so straightforward." And it is just
Yes.
true. I mean, it's just like that's how I am. But I don't know how to like, I don't know.
See, no, that's it right there. It sounds like that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about your clients too. So if people are going to you continuously and they're like, they've been a long time client, why do you think they come back, right? It may be that straightforward. Some people need like super direct instructions, and some people are like, okay, no, I want you to not coddle me, but kind of like help me through it. I need a little more empathy with my Some people operate that way as opposed to maybe the way that you.
And I'm very compassionate too. That I mean, the feedback I get from my clients is that I can compassionately and empathetically narrow something down to like, have you thought of this?
Mm-hmm.
So oddly enough, I'm able to help them. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Oh, is it echo?
Oh, you're good.
I think it's okay. So what I'll say is this. Oddly enough, because I struggle with this being laser focused, I help my clients become laser focused on in a compassionate way on what could possibly be preventing them from having the lives or the outcomes that they want.
That was your tagline, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Meaning, if it's not, go ahead and add that to your tagline. And I'm asking this because this is where a lot of your content will probably derive from too. Like, this is how we get you to speak directly to your client. And also, Ms. Deb, I didn't want to pass you up. Feel free to accept the invitation if you want. But I would love to have a session with you about this too, because like you said, your niche is so unique. It's not just simply like anxiety or depression, that there should be several people coming to you. And I know something like getting clients is very difficult in general. Keeping those clients is difficult as well. But with your niche so specified, there are several ways that I can think of that I really want to help you get in front of those clients as well. And you have a UVA too. That's more so your niche. I will say that. I feel like a lot of us are merging your niche and your UVA. Your niche is pretty much about them. Your UVA is about you. So we don't speak about you a whole lot, especially when talking about marketing, because it's about the client. But what do you provide, right? You have the education, you have the knowledge. Outside of your knowledge and education, more so like, I guess what they say, soft skills, and less technical, I guess. What do you provide? What is it about you? And I guess since I did say I have one for me, just to get you thinking about it a little bit more for everyone. Obviously, my specialty is marketing. Sales and marketing go hand in hand, right? I do not like salesy stuff. Sales is just not fun to me. When I hear sales, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm sure I'd be good at it, but I don't like it. My UVA would be relationship building. You have to really get to know the person. So for example, if I'm working at a shoe store, someone comes in, first you greet them. You say, hey, how are you doing? Welcome in. And then you say, okay, is there anything specific you're looking for? Yes, I'm looking for a white tennis shoe in the size 9. Great. Men's, women's, kids, they say women's. All right, perfect. The women's section is back here. Let me guide you to it. This is our wall of shoes, right? You got 2 walls, one on this side, one on this side. And then you kind of nurture the relationship. So you're not necessarily asking them, hey, what's the weather today? No, you're asking, hey, are you picking these tennis shoes for a specific event? It's literally just getting to know someone. And that's my UVA, because if you don't know your audience, if you don't know your target, how are you going to help them? Right? You know, I could be in a session with Tammy and I'm like, hey, Tammy, I really want to learn how to do XYZ. And if I'm just talking about XYZ and never ask her a personal question about her or why she got into it, first of all, it's not like me. If you know me, you know I ask several questions anyway. But if I'm in a session with her and I never ask her one thing about herself or one thing about how she's able to help me do this job so well, you know, it kind of separates the person from who they're asking about. So you don't want that wall of separation. You kind of want that relationship building aspect. So think about that. If you haven't said what your UVA is, think about you for a change. I think a lot of y'all, especially in your profession, think about others, which is great. Think about you for a second. Think about how you can add more value to your practice, to people, to the world at large, because everybody has one. I'll say that everybody has one, even if you don't know what it is yet. I'll check the chat and see what y'all look it over to.
I need you to repeat what you said to me because my internet knocked out right when you open your mouth and tell me that second part. And I think somebody hacked me. Somebody don't want me to win.
Yeah, I got you. So for you, in addition to being a Black male therapist, I just said the way that you speak to people, so the language. And I said people don't have to code switch when they come to you because they probably already know, okay, one, I've seen his videos, I've seen his website. He speaks the same way I speak. I can understand what he's saying and I don't have to show up as a totally different person. So that's basically what I said.
Sure.
So use that kind of language to your advantage. I mean, one thing about it, even when reading your ebooks and looking at your website and reviewing different posts on your social media, you continue to do that, which is great. Like you don't let up. And I like that. So continue doing that.
Be unapologetically you.
I really wish Samira was in this session because she has a lot of gems too, but I will talk about those next time. We do not have time.
I know, right? I agree with you there. No, she would have been great on this. Awesome. Thank you, Kenyon. That was fantastic. Thank you everybody for showing up how you did. Much appreciated. So we will see y'all next time. Remember, the sooner you get to your dream practice, the longer you get to enjoy it, and we're here to help you every step of the way. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Talk soon.